The humid Bangkok air hung heavy with the scent of jasmine and exhaust fumes. Neon lights painted the bustling streets in a kaleidoscope of colors. In a luxurious high-rise apartment overlooking the Chao Phraya River, a man known only as the Ghost surveyed his domain. Surrounded by priceless artifacts and cutting-edge technology, he was at the pinnacle of his power. The Ghost was a phantom, a whisper in the corridors of the dark web, yet he controlled an empire built on secrets and digital currency. His life was a paradox, a life of unparalleled wealth and influence, shrouded in anonymity and fear. The Ghost's rise to power was as meteoric as it was unexpected. A prodigious programmer with a sharp mind for business, he had carved his own path in the shadowy underbelly of the internet. He had built a digital fortress, an impenetrable marketplace where anything could be bought or sold. Drugs, weapons, stolen data, all flowed through his servers, each transaction adding to his vast fortune. He lived a life of luxury, indulging in extravagant parties and exotic travel, always one step ahead of the authorities. But empires built on secrets are fragile things. Like a house of cards, they can collapse with a single misplaced breath. For the Ghost, that breath came in the form of a careless mistake, a digital footprint he thought he had erased, a single slip-up, a moment of arrogance, and the walls of his carefully constructed world began to crumble. The authorities were closing in, their net tightening with every passing hour. The paradise the Ghost had built for himself was about to become his prison. The Ghost felt a chill despite the tropical heat. His phone buzzed with an anonymous message, a warning that sent shivers down his spine. The game had changed. He was no longer the hunter, but the hunted. His opulent life in Bangkok, the anonymity he had so carefully cultivated, it all meant nothing now. The shadows he had embraced for so long were now closing in, threatening to consume him entirely. The Ghost's life was a study in contradictions. He craved anonymity, yet he reveled in the trappings of wealth. He was a phantom, a digital enigma, yet he commanded a network of real-world assets. His penthouse apartment was a testament to his extravagant tastes, a sanctuary filled with rare art, bespoke furniture, and an arsenal of the latest gadgets. He moved through the city in chauffeured limousines, his face hidden behind mirrored sunglasses. He dined at Michelin-starred restaurants, his identity shielded by a carefully constructed web of aliases and offshore accounts. The Ghost understood the power of perception. He knew that his success depended on maintaining an aura of invincibility. He cultivated an image of untouchability, surrounding himself with loyal lieutenants and a sophisticated security apparatus. His movements were unpredictable, his communications encrypted. He was a ghost in the machine, a whisper in the digital wind, leaving no trace of his presence. But beneath the veneer of power, the Ghost was a prisoner of his own making. He was trapped in a gilded cage of his own design, constantly looking over his shoulder, always wary of the unseen enemy. He trusted no one, not even his closest confidants. He knew that his empire was built on shifting sands, a precarious structure vulnerable to the slightest tremor. The irony wasn't lost on him. He had amassed a fortune by exploiting the vulnerabilities of others, yet his own life was a testament to the fragility of human nature. He was a master of deception, yet he was constantly deceiving himself, clinging to the illusion of control. He was the emperor with no clothes, his naked ambition exposed for all to see. The dark web was the Ghost's playground, a digital wilderness where the rules of conventional society did not apply. It was a realm of hidden servers and encrypted communications, a labyrinth of anonymous marketplaces and clandestine forums. Here, criminals and dissidents alike could operate beyond the reach of traditional law enforcement, their identities concealed behind layers of digital camouflage. The lifeblood of this shadowy realm was cryptocurrency. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Monero, these digital tokens flowed through the veins of the dark web, facilitating illicit transactions and enabling a vast underground economy. They were the currency of shadows, untraceable and immune to government control. For the Ghost, cryptocurrencies were both a tool and a weapon. They allowed him to move vast sums of money across borders, undetected and untaxed. They were the fuel that powered his empire, the key to his anonymity and his power. But cryptocurrencies were a double-edged sword. Their decentralized nature made them attractive to criminals, but it also made them vulnerable to volatility and speculation. The value of Bitcoin could fluctuate wildly. Fortunes could be made and lost overnight. The Ghost knew that his empire was built on shaky ground, subject to the whims of an unpredictable market. He was a gambler at heart, a risk-taker who thrived on the adrenaline rush of the digital casino. He had built his fortune on the backs of these digital tokens, but he knew that they could just as easily be his undoing. The currency of shadows could vanish as quickly as it had appeared, leaving him exposed and vulnerable. The Ghost had learned from the mistakes of his predecessors. He had studied the rise and fall of Silk Road, the infamous dark web marketplace that had briefly flourished before being shut down by the FBI. Silk Road had been a cautionary tale, a reminder that even the most sophisticated criminal enterprises were vulnerable to infiltration and prosecution. Ross Ulbricht, the mastermind behind Silk Road, had believed himself to be untouchable. He had operated under the pseudonym Dread Pirate Roberts, a mythical figurehead who commanded a vast online network of drug dealers and buyers. He had used sophisticated encryption and anonymizing software, but his arrogance had ultimately been his undoing. A series of careless mistakes, a trail of digital breadcrumbs, had led the authorities to his doorstep. The Ghost had studied Ulbricht's downfall with meticulous care. He had learned the importance of operational security, the need for constant vigilance, the danger of complacency. He had built his own empire on a foundation of paranoia, constantly scrutinizing every detail, anticipating every threat. He was determined to avoid the fate of his predecessor, to remain a ghost in the machine, forever out of reach. But history has a way of repeating itself. The Ghost, for all his cunning and foresight, was still human. He was still susceptible to the same flaws that had brought down Silk Road. He had built his empire on a foundation of secrets, but secrets have a way of unraveling, and when they do, the consequences can be catastrophic. The Ghost's downfall began with a seemingly insignificant detail, a single, careless mistake. He had become complacent, lulled into a false sense of security by his years of success. He had allowed a routine software update to proceed without proper vetting, a seemingly minor oversight that would have disastrous consequences. The update contained a hidden backdoor, a flaw in the code that allowed a team of cybersecurity experts working with law enforcement to penetrate his defenses. They were able to monitor his communications, track his transactions, and piece together his real-world identity. The Ghost's carefully constructed anonymity shattered, his digital fortress breached. The Ghost remained oblivious to the breach, unaware that his every move was being watched. He continued to operate with the same reckless abandon, confident in his own invincibility. But the net was closing in, the trap was sprung. The authorities were gathering evidence, preparing to strike. The Ghost's undoing was a testament to the hubris of man. He had believed himself to be above the law, a master of the digital realm, immune to the consequences of his actions. But the digital world, for all its anonymity and illusion of control, is still subject to the laws of reality. And in the end, reality always has a way of catching up. The raid came swiftly and silently. A team of heavily armed officers stormed the Ghost's penthouse apartment, their movements precise and coordinated. The Ghost, caught off guard, barely had time to react before he was subdued and placed under arrest. The life he had so carefully constructed, the empire he had built on secrets and digital currency, crumbled around him. The authorities seized computers, hard drives, and mobile devices, combing through terabytes of data for evidence of the Ghost's crimes. They froze his bank accounts, seized his assets, and shut down his online marketplace. The Ghost's vast fortune, once a source of power and security, now became a liability, a testament to the scale of his criminal enterprise. The news of the Ghost's arrest sent shockwaves through the dark web community. Forums went dark, marketplaces shut down, and users scrambled to cover their tracks. The Ghost, once an icon of anonymity and invincibility, had become a cautionary tale, a reminder that no one, not even the most skilled cybercriminal, is beyond the reach of the law. The Ghost's downfall was a victory for law enforcement, a demonstration of their growing ability to combat cybercrime. But it was also a reminder of the constant cat-and-mouse game between criminals and those who pursue them. The dark web, for all its dangers and illicit activities, remains a shadowy reflection of the real world, a place where the same rules apply, albeit with a digital twist. The Ghost's arrest marked a turning point in the fight against cybercrime. It demonstrated that even the most sophisticated criminal networks are vulnerable to infiltration and disruption. It highlighted the importance of international cooperation, the need for law enforcement agencies to share intelligence and resources to combat the evolving threat of digital crime. The dark web, once a mysterious and impenetrable realm, is becoming increasingly transparent. Advances in technology, coupled with increased law enforcement efforts, are making it more difficult for criminals to operate with impunity. The anonymity that once cloaked the dark web is fading, replaced by a growing sense of vulnerability. But the fight against cybercrime is far from over. The dark web is a constantly evolving landscape with new threats emerging all the time. Criminals are becoming more sophisticated, using advanced encryption techniques and anonymizing software to evade detection. The battle between law enforcement and cybercriminals is a continuous arms race, a constant struggle for dominance in the digital realm. The Ghost's downfall is a reminder that the digital world, for all its promise and potential, is still subject to the same forces that shape our physical reality. Greed, ambition, and the pursuit of power will always find a way to manifest, regardless of the medium. And the consequences of our actions, whether in the real world or the digital one, will always catch up with us in the end.